Uh, Hello, everyone. My name is Zag Puas, but you can call me Zag for short. That's easier. This is my first time in Tahiti, by the way, and I can describe it in 3 words. I like it. It's very, very nice to be here. Yeah. Okay. I'm just going to talk about my project, my climate change project, and that's in partnership with Australian National University. And there are 2 of us, or 3, the Pacific, Department of Pacific Affairs, they're involved in that. And Paul, right here, is part of that project. So, by way of background, I attended a conference in Paris. There was a collection of people, they came together in Paris. And then we started about talking about climate change. And all the talks they were concerning was about science, scientific knowledge, data, how to plot it, and so forth. I never heard about indigenous knowledge. And then when I raised the question of indigenous knowledge, whether we can incorporate into the conference, and they said, no, it's too much time for it. So I said, well, thank you, I'm walking out. So they called me back and said, tomorrow we're going to talk about it. I said, fine. I came back the next day, and they were talking about Eskimos, not the Pacific Islands. So from that on, I decided to create a project that is going to be concentrating on the Pacific Islands, and I call that with or without funds. It doesn't matter if I do not have funds, I'll just keep going. Yeah. So I started while I still undertaking my studies at ANU. The way I did it is I contacted my counterparts in the islands, and I said, fortunately, we have Wi-Fi. Yeah, so I said, by the way, I'm from the outer islands, you know, low-lying islands. Yeah. That's where I grew up, did my studies, and went on to the rest of the world. So I contacted my people and said, if there is any impact of climate change, can you let me know? I said, sure. And then they start to send me pictures, lots of them. Yeah. So I just keep collecting them, and then I said, all right, when I finish, I'll come back home and we can start a project. And then when I did finish my study under Paul, and then I got my PhD, I went home and I started my project. Yeah. So I was just looking at saying, forget about all this money you're asking about funds all the time. So we have things like in our soil that we can plant it ourselves. We don't have to pay for you know, to plant it. We planted before. So why not revisit, you know, what we've been doing for the last decades or centuries or so. So that was about the re-empowering community, revisit past farming practices, away from the culture of the Western world, rice and canned meat culture. So I was emphasizing about indigenous production, specifically taros. Oh, am I going back? All right, I'll skip that one. Right, so I was looking at start from the grassroots level. I think that's the best approach. Because when I look at the layers of government, you've got the national government, the state, and then you've got the municipal government. And then I look at it as like, these guys up here, the national government, it's so abstract. They're just floating in the sky. They don't know what's going on down here. And then I moved down to state level. Same thing. There is a full of bureaucrats on and on and on, and they lost contact with the community. And then I said grassroots level is the best approach. That's where the people are. And then that's where they engage on everyday level. And then I started to design my objectives. So these are my objectives of my project. And meshing historical knowledge with relevant imported ideas with low-cost technology. So starting from the grassroots and then engage those people from outside who have knowledge about climate change adaptation or so. And then provide hands-on application. It's about hands-on. It's not about theories where you have to stand there and then think about what it is that you have to do. It's hands-on, do it. And then it's about maintaining the status of the project and share with other islands throughout the Pacific, not Pacific, but FSM first, Federated States of Micronesia. That's where I originally come from, where I am. I am from. And then empowering to take control in developing healthy eating habits for their families and island communities. So those people who are involved in the project can then take away the knowledge that they learn from it and start to do their own family project or community project. I concentrate on taro. And everybody said, why? Why taro? Well, some people, they started to call me Dr. Taro. I say, that's fine, I don't mind. Yeah, because of this. It's a quick cycle to harvest. And I started to identify some salt-resistant taro. I discovered because I was just walking along the beach. I went away from a deserted island. Not deserted, but different islands. It's uninhabited. I was just walking on the beach, and then I saw this unusual, looks like taro. And then I asked, what's this type? And then they told me, and I said, and how come we're not planting? Well, how come we do not produce or reproduce it? And I said, well, you know, it's a hard work. And I said, but in terms of climate change, I think this is one of the best that we can do. Especially now, we can see that it's right there on the beach and it can grow. And then I started to harvest them, transplant it, take it to my home island, and then started. And while I was doing that, I started to identify more taros. I do not know what their scientific name until today, but I'm trying to engage a scientist. Maybe you can identify. Probably it's already exists in the textbook or somewhere, but I'll get there somehow. The project is still going. And some of this can grow both on the waterfront as well as inland. That was the beauty of it. If you can plant it, you can plant it. That's a really good for climate change adaptation in terms of security, food security and work. And it doesn't require much work to do it. You can just plant it outside your house and you can see it as they grow up and maintain it and then harvest it. Oh, by the way, Chakri, that's where Federated States of Micronesia is. It's just above Papua New Guinea, east of the Philippine Islands, south of Japan. You cannot miss it. Well, you can because they're small dots on the map. So they're small islands, but in terms of water, we've got one of the largest, water in the world in terms of the EEZ. Yeah, so they're big ocean island. Yeah. And these are just some of the islands in Micronesia. I'm from the Murlocs, right here. Not the one in PNG, by the way. They have Murlocs Island in Papua New Guinea. So I don't know who started first, us or you. But I started here in the Murloc Islands with 4 islands, all flat islands, different lagoons. Yeah. So I have to go on the motorboat, to check my project to make sure that it's growing and people are looking after it. And then I extended to Pohnpei, to the capital. Yeah. It's planting now. And my colleague Paul Darcy saw it, and I think he was impressed. Were you? Yeah. So it's all, but while I'm doing this, and they start to contact me, the other islands around here. They say, can we look at your project? I said, well, sure, if you have transportation, come on over. Yeah. But we just started communicating on the internet. Okay, this is just outlining why I'm doing that on the low-lying islands. Yeah, because we're on the cutting edge of sea rise, and then we discovered the water, the salt water, started really impacting on the farmland, on the small islands, and then there are more frequency of storms and high tides. And then this is just some of the studies. The latest one was by the military, U.S. military in the Marshall Islands, and they say that if we're not careful, within 40 years we're gone. Not gone, but the decreasing number of population will have to, relocate. Yeah, but some of the islanders, when I interviewed them, they said, we don't want to leave these islands. We want to stay here. This is our home. Why should we move? We'd rather stay here and die. But I'll say, fine. They will have to find ways just to adapt until whatever comes along. Yeah. So they're doing that. Okay. I think I've covered that. Yeah. Right? Okay, some of them, especially the new generation, they're out because we have a compact of free association with the United States. That means we can migrate in and out without visa. We can stay there. We can build our house and then go to school visa-free in exchange for Americans to use the islands for security reasons, whatever that is. Yeah. Okay, just give you some what's happening about 5 years ago. There was some king tides, what they call king tides. And then 70% of taro crops died. And then there causes starvation on most of the islands. And the way that they help each other, it's you've got this diaspora in Micronesia. You're not just on one particular island because you've got relatives on different islands. And then we've got the diaspora in the United States, Hawaii, and so forth. So they're the one who helping us, to survive, actually. I mean, to supplement us. These are just the outline of what's happening. When I was in Australia, and then they sent me these pictures. They said, "You want to look at it, climate change?" And I said, "Yeah." And I was freaking out myself because, well, I did see these kind of things before, but it was because of typhoons, not just one day just coming, over the land. And then there's another one. That's on the low-lying islands. And this other one in 2017, December, they sent me this picture. Yeah. And they said, "What are you going to do about that?" I said, "Oh, we'll find a way. Don't give up." Some people were just walking around, sitting down on coconut trunks and so forth. And then this is the road that I used to walk on. It's all underwater. Yeah. And then this kind of a beach erosion, land erosion, seawall falling apart. What do we do for strategies? This is one of the adaptation things that we did for beach erosion. We use this kind of layers. It's like a lattice of cement, concrete cement. And then these are my babies, the taros. Right. So you can see the coconut fiber we use as a form of adaptation. We're just piling it up and then do whatever height that we can do and then start to plant. And then the water just run, below. That's just an example of it. The coconut fiber we just put along and then the water can just flow alongside. And then this is one of the days that I was camping on a different island, on an inhabited island. And then just happened to look out and this is what they call sea rice. It really struck me at this time. Because if you look at further down there, the islands are sort of, sinking. These are just alignment projects. This is my office on my island. And I'm the Association of State Territorial Held Officials. That's an American NGO that was interested in my project and started to partner up with me. That's just me, relaxing after a day's hard work. These are the taros that are growing right now, but this is just the beginning. This is about a year ago. That's one island where they're planting the taros. And this one is very particular because you can see the stress right on the beach, and they're growing, the taros. Yeah. That's my particular island. It's called Lucanor, and this is my taro farm. Yeah. And another one. These are the taros that you can grow near the beachfront. They call them ke. Not yet know what in scientific terms. That's just another. And the more outcomes, I did a youth conference and then bring all the youth together, to work on this project. And then we have workshops with the youth group. Because of the success that I have in the Mortlocks, then I went to the capital and started another taro farm. This is in Pohnpei. Those are the youth, 4 youth groups I'm working with. It's just sharing some knowledge about climate change with them, on and on. And these are my youth educators. I use the youth themselves to educate each other. And I think that's a really best approach that you can do, rather than me going out and talk to them. But they listen to this, their partners as well. And that's the Secretary of the Department of Health, the biggest that he can go up in the department, the national level. So she was so interested in my work that she came and attended my youth conference that I organized for the island. And then just the beginning that I work on my taros in Pohnpei, it's right outside my house. This one, they're growing. That's August 2018. And then they're ready to be harvested. It takes only like 7 months. And that's the beauty of it, is that you don't have to wait around for another species of taro, which takes about 3 to 4 years. And then these are the taros that you can harvest in 6 months. But you can leave the taros for whatever year. But at least you can start to eat them at 6 months interval. And this is our group, leaders from the youth group that I use. And then we did a program on YouTube, uploaded about climate change in the Federated States of Micronesia. And this is our future plan. We want, like Paul was saying, we want to integrate the ocean resources, with the land. And then collaborate with like-minded people outside, like academics, technicians, whatsoever. And then I'm looking at a long-term objective for the project. It was supposed to be just for 2 years. I said, no. I'll keep going, then I'll know the real outcome. And then link it to the, well, that's another story, the NCDs, and non-communicable diseases. And then to share, publish some articles and see what the results are in a few years' time. So that's where I am. Thank you.
We have about 3 minutes for him, so if anyone can help.